You are listening to the Female Accountant Moms podcast with Dawn Goldberg, CPA. This is episode number 41, The One Thing. Welcome to the Female Accountant Moms podcast, the podcast where busy female accountants who also happen to be moms like you get practical support and solutions you need to have it all, a successful career and a happy family. If you are looking for the solution to overwhelm and mom guilt, if you'd like to feel better and have more balance, as well as learn how to take back control of your life, you've come to the right place. Hey there, welcome back to this week's show. I hope that you had a nice 4th of July, enjoyed your day off or 2 days off, or maybe you're on vacation. I hope you're unwinding. I just wanted to mention, if you're not familiar with the fact that I have a Facebook Live that I do every week where a listener asks me a question about one of the episodes, and I go a little bit deeper and help coach them about their particular question. So my Facebook page is CPA Moms Coach. So take a look at that, and you can see past videos that I've done where I've answered somebody's question. And I do that once a week. So just wanted to give you a heads up about that. So this week, the episode is number 41, and it's called The One Thing. So as a working mother, I'm sure you are probably juggling more balls up in the air than most circus clowns. And if you've ever done a Google search, like I did, on how to multitask, you probably discovered over 6 million hits offering to help you figure out how to get everything done on your to-do list. Like most working mothers, you may dream of having less distractions and less on your plate, but you don't see how that's remotely possible. Maybe you've started to believe that it's just the way things are, so you'll just have to power through, or maybe it's become so overwhelming that you've started to buffer away your stressful feelings with things like alcohol or shopping or social media. Let me ask you, has anyone ever said to you, this, I can't tell you how many times they've said this to me, I don't know how you do it all. And my immediately thought is, I don't either. I have no idea how I do it all. What often happens when you try to do too much is missed deadlines. You probably have disappointing results, more stress, longer hours, less sleep, and missed moments with family and friends. And that's just to name a few. If only there was a way to focus on one thing at a time that would actually shrink your to-do list. It would be great to have a way to know exactly what to do in each moment that would create a domino effect and help alleviate overwhelm and stress while increasing productivity. The New York Times and Wall Street Journal best-selling book, The One Thing, by Gary Keller and J. Papasan, teaches just that. It teaches you that when everything feels urgent and important, everything seems equally necessary. The authors explain that multitasking is a lie that has become a strange badge of honor and is actually a quality that employers mistakenly target. Now, of course, right, humans are capable of doing two things at the same time. We're capable of walking and talking, but you actually aren't capable of focusing on two things at the same time, which is costing you more than you realize. So this week, I'm going to discuss how to decrease your to-do list by asking a powerful focusing question and how to apply it in any area of your life. So let's begin with decreasing your to-do list. To-do lists seem to be the only way to get organized and get things done in this super distracted, overworked world. And whether you choose to use paper and pen or the many apps available for your smartphone, making a list and checking it twice seems to be the best way to get things done. However, what the author's research shows is that the 80-20 principle is at the heart of managing your time. And this principle is as provable and predictable as other laws of nature. And it states, if you don't know the 80-20 principle, it states that the minority of your effort, which is 20%, leads to the majority of your results, which is the 80%. So if you were to make a to-do list with 10 items on it, Choosing the best 2 out of the 10 would turn out to be worth more than the other 8 items put together. However, most people have a tendency to believe that everything on the to-do list is vital. But just because you could do something on your to-do list doesn't mean you should do it. By focusing on what you should do, you let what matters most drive your day. The authors of the book actually take this a step further by suggesting that from those 2 out of the 10 on your to-do list, you then narrow those 2 quote-unquote shoulds down to 1, which they call the one thing. With practice, you will learn how to develop the mindset to narrow your list from the critical few to the essential one thing, drastically reducing ineffective busyness and overwhelm. And if you feel like you just can't get ahead of all you have to do, the issue isn't that you have little time to do all the things you need to do. The issue is that you feel the need to do too many things in the time that you have. Inevitably, you wind up doubling your efforts to get it all done, believing that multitasking is the answer. However, multitasking doesn't save time because your brain is giving each task divided attention. When you divide your attention, you actually pay the price in time and effectiveness because your brain has to continually reorient between tasks. By figuring out what matters most in the moment and giving that your undivided attention, you use your brain in the most effective way possible. To figure out what matters most, the authors suggest that you ask the focusing question. So now I'm going to talk about the focusing question. As I've explained before, your brain is like a Google search engine. Ask it a powerful question and it will give you a powerful answer. Your brain doesn't care whether you ask it a negative question like, why am I such a bad mother? Or a positive question like, how can I make my commute to work more pleasant? The authors came up with a focusing question that basically it hacks your brain and it helps it to focus not only on the few things that should be done on your to-do list, but on the all-important first thing to be done. The focusing question is the following. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Now, in the analogy of dominoes, the first domino is the starting point to be able to knock down all subsequent dominoes. And this focusing question, it doesn't just help you to make any decision. It helps you to make the best decision. It helps you to go from what is doable to what is necessary to what really matters. By asking your brain this focusing question, you are directing it to weed through what you previously believed that you should do, could do, or would do, and instead find the one thing you can do right now. The payoff is that at the end is that by applying this to each area of your life, you will have trained your brain to declutter and avoid distractions. Now, who doesn't want that? Now let's talk about how to apply the focusing question to various areas of your life. And by getting clear about how to make the most of your time, you'll begin to see how to simplify your life one thing at a time. So now I'm going to discuss applying the focusing question. No matter what area of your life you are trying to improve, or whether you are trying to increase productivity or maybe create more time, learning how to focus your attention is a powerful habit to learn. Whether you are trying to decide what to do at home first thing in the morning, or maybe what to do at work in order to not miss a deadline, using the focusing question makes decisions easier and more effective. The authors suggest in the book that when you place the areas of your life in order of importance, you can develop the foundational habit of focusing on the most important one thing at a time. Now, their suggested categories and the order of importance are the following. They say that your physical health is the first thing. Then comes your personal life, your family and relationships, your job, and then your finances. And these are just obviously suggestions, but it really is helpful when learning how to apply the focusing question to whatever areas that you wind up choosing. They suggest that you say the category first, then state the question, add a time frame, and end by saying, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. So let me give you an example. So for my job, what's the one thing I can do to ensure I hit my goals this week, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Okay, so that's an example of how you apply it. So I'm just going to also go over some examples in each of the categories that the authors had suggested. So for your physical health, right, you'd say the question would be, for my physical health, what's the one thing I can do today to achieve my diet goals? Or maybe it would be, for my physical health, what's the one thing I can do this week to ensure that I exercise? Under the category of your personal life, you could ask, for my personal life, what's the one thing I can do this month to improve my skill at cooking? Or maybe, for my personal life, what's the one thing I can do today to find time for myself? Under the category of your family or your relationships, you could ask the question, for my marriage, what's the one thing I can do this week to improve my relationship with my spouse? Or maybe the question is, for my relationship with my children, what's the one thing I can do every week to spend more quality family time together? For the category of your job, you could ask questions like, for my job, what's the one thing I can do today to complete my current project ahead of schedule? Or the question could be, for my job, what's the one thing I can do before my next review to get the raise I want? And then under the category of your finances, you could ask, for my finances, what's the one thing I can do this month to reduce household expenses? Or maybe the question is, for my finances, what's the one thing I can do in the next 6 months to eliminate my credit card debt? So as you can see, right, with those examples, asking the focusing question helps your brain to not only focus on what's important to you, but also conserve your energy by focusing your time and effort on what matters most. As a helpful tool, the authors suggest putting up a reminder at home or at work that reads the following. I love this. They suggest putting up a sign that says, or a little post-it that says, until my one thing is done, everything else is a distraction. I just love that. And by giving your brain the direction to focus on the one thing right now, you have the greatest chance at effectively accomplishing it and then being able to move on to the next one thing. You will no longer be that person who appears to be busy all day, but doesn't seem to accomplish much. And after reading the book, I decided to put it into practice in a few areas of my life. And honestly, I have to say that it was really, really helpful. When my brain wanted to become overwhelmed with all the possible things that it believed I needed to do or that I could do, taking a few moments to actually apply the focusing question, it cut through it all like a knife. So here's how I applied it. Under the category of my physical health, my powerful question was, for my physical health, what's the one thing I can do today to help with my health goals such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So what I chose to do was to drink more water as my one thing, because by being more hydrated, I would feel better. I would feel fuller, which would curb any hunger. I would get up more to go to the bathroom, which would give me more steps in the day. And I would reduce the headaches I get when I'm dehydrated. For the category of my family and relationships, my powerful focusing question was, for my marriage, what's the one thing I can do today to show my love to my husband, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Now, my husband, he just got a new job, and I've been making his lunch for the first time in our marriage. So I chose to leave Post-it notes on his sandwich each day as my one thing, because I used to do it when my kids were little, and honestly, it made me so happy. It's like a silly little thing, but I also knew that I would feel connected to him as I imagined him getting my note when he had his lunch. It was simple to do, and it let him know that I'm thinking of him. And under the category of work, I asked the focusing question, for my work, what's the one thing I can do this morning to be the most productive, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And the first thing that came to mind for me with that focusing question was a client's credit card statement. It sounds funny, but that was the thing. I had been procrastinating writing up this credit card statement because I have a lot of resistance towards this client for various reasons. I kept moving the credit card statement from one corner of my desk to another, and I decided to break down the statement first thing the next morning. Afterwards, I have to tell you, I felt such a sense of relief. I wasn't distracted anymore. I appreciated the empty space where the statement had been sitting, and it energized me to take a look at any other work that I had been resisting so that I could apply the focusing question and determine what was the next one thing to do. That would be really helpful. So no matter how you choose to apply the focusing question, figuring out the one thing helps you to take control of your to-do list, prioritize that list, what really matters, and then constrain to choose the one domino in that category that may help knock down the others. So now it's your turn to ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do right now to start using the one thing in my life, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? In summary, the 80-20 principle is as provable and predictable as other laws of nature and states that the minority of your effort, the 20%, leads to the majority of your results, the 80%. By focusing on what you should do instead of what you could do, you let what matters most drive your day. By asking your brain the focusing question, you are directing it to weed through what you previously believed you should do, could do, or would do, and instead find the one thing you can do right now. Whether you are trying to decide what to do at home first thing in the morning or what to do at work in order to not miss a deadline, using the focusing question makes decisions easier and more effective. And finally, as a helpful tool, the authors suggest putting up a reminder at home or at work that reads, "Until my one thing is done, everything else is a distraction." So there you go, my friends. I really hope you have a chance to either read the book or apply the focusing question because, back in the day when my children were little, I used to carry around, I guess it was like a day timer. It was black, like a leather-bound type book that I would carry around, and I would insert the pages for the day or for the month, for the year or whatever. And I would write things on there, and it was like as if it was a badge of honor for me to cross things out. If I did something and hadn't written it down, I would actually go write it down and have that like satisfaction of crossing it off the list. And I really felt like, I've spoken to other friends of mine, other women, working moms, who said that they felt that the busier they were, the more valuable they were. And how that has just become, you're just on this like hamster wheel, never getting off of it. And I really felt like this book helped me a lot to see the value of not just knocking off all 10 things on the to-do list, but really focusing on first narrowing it down to the two most important, applying the 80-20 rule, and then focusing on out of those two, which is really the most important thing to do right now in this moment. It really saved me so much time, and I felt like I gave it my all, whatever it was. So I hope this was helpful, and I hope you have a great week. If you're on vacation, I hope you have a lovely vacation, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like what you heard, be sure to click subscribe on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. You can also get my 5 simple steps to reduce overwhelm today for free by visiting me over at cpa-moms-coach.com. If you'd like some free coaching around an issue you are experiencing, go over to my website and schedule a free mini session.